everybody, welcome to my Suburban Oasis. So today we're going to do a little putzing around the garden, a little puttering about. It is a beautiful day out. It's going to be a high of 57 here in Michigan. So I'm just really happy to be outside. I have my new veg truck little greenhouse here that I have some plants in. I have some perennials that I want to plant out today, and then I'm also going to try to get some of the clematis that I have out into the yard as well as into a nice big pot. All right, well, let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to tuck myself in a little bit back behind this trellis. This trellis has two Duchess of Edinburgh Clematis on it planted right now. And I've got a couple more in this pot here. And I'm just going to dig down and put them a little bit more towards the front, because the two that I have one right here on this side and one over here. And so I'd like to get a couple more right in the front here, so there'll be one per post, or at least planted near each post on this, and that should help to cover this trellis up a little bit better. So let's see if the soil is warm enough for me to dig down in it. Yes, this looks really good. All right, I'm going to try to bring you a little closer here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to plant one right here. And gonna make sure I get it right up near that post here. And I'm really not too worried about the bulbs that are in the bed. You can see these right here. If I end up digging up some of those, that does not bother me one bit, because they are everywhere in here and have really naturalized. I'm just going to put a little stake by this guy so I know it's right there. All right, and this one looks pretty good too. I don't know if you can see the new growth on there. Definitely seems to be happy. I'm just going to plant it at the pretty much the same level it was planted at in the pot. It is definitely going to still do some freezing here, but I'm just going to cover them up with the leaves that are in the bed right now. And that should help just to give them enough protection to be able to allow them to stay nice and warm and cozy in there until I have an opportunity to put more mulch over them, and they'll survive any snow. All right, so here's another spot where I'm going to be doing some more clematis, and these are going to be the multi-blue. So you may have seen my video earlier where I cut back this clematis over here, and it's a deep purple one. I think it's called Crystal Falls, but I'm not positive because I've had it for so long. But I think that this will also just help to fill out the vine a little bit more, or excuse me, the trellis a little bit more. So I'm going to plant one more in the middle and one to the side here, and then I think it will look really nice just vining up and covering up some of this brick. And they really like being back here because I plant some plants in front of them to help shade the roots, because clematis really like having their roots in the shade. but they're vines in the sun. So these multi-blues have not started really doing anything yet in terms of showing any real significant new growth. But the roots are definitely looking just fine from when I planted them. So I'm just going to add a little bit of this potting soil for them to be in, which will also help. And then when I'm done, I am going to come back in and water these. I just put both of them in the same hole. Oh my goodness, pay attention to what I'm doing here. Okay. I was like, where did it go? There it is. Okay. One in there. And again, just putting some nice mulch over them to help keep them warm. But what I will tell you is this is a very warm side of the house. It's south facing and the bricks will heat up, so it's going to give it a really lovely warm place to grow, and it might actually kind of jumpstart some of that new growth being in this particular spot. Okay, right here I have a cherry blossom deutzia, which was actually eaten quite a lot by rabbits this year, so I don't know if I'm going to get any blooms on it, which is very sad to me because I was really looking forward to that. But what I do have is an opportunity to put some plants around it that are also spring blooming, and I'm going to use the pink Barlow because this is also in the pink family. And then I have some butterfly bushes and some foxglove. And so I just think it's going to be a nice way to bring a different texture right here. And we'll see. I don't know if these will do that well here because a lot of times they like part sun, and this is a very sunny spot. But we're going to give it a shot and see what happens. So we'll do one here, we'll do one here. And one out front. These have been developing very well since being in this potting soil. I'm just going to bury them a little bit deeper than they are in the pot to make sure that they're well protected here. Put it right about here. It's always a good idea to plant plants in odd numbers. It just looks more natural for some reason, unless you're doing something that where you're trying to be very symmetrical. And plant something on either side of an entryway. So that's why I'm doing 3. And these are perennials. I would not be planting these out if they were annuals. They should be okay to take a little bit of some frost. The other ones that I have in my yard are coming up and about this high as well right now, so I'm not too worried about them. They might get a little bit of frost damage, but their roots will be absolutely fine. So again, I'm just not worried. I will come back in and water these in a little bit. When I'm done planting, we'll water everything in that I planted today. Okay, Okay, so on my right you have a trellis that I have taken all the tags off of and the cardboard, and it's ready to go. It has some very nice pointy ends on it, so I'm hoping I can just stand on it and push it into the ground. And over here on my left you can see this clematis, which has been growing here for probably, oh my goodness, I'd say probably about 10 years. And so what I'm going to do is clip it back just a little bit further than it is right now, and that will allow me to pull this tomato cage out from this garden bed without trying to damage it too much. And then I'll put this trellis in and get this attached to it. You'll notice I was really careful when I'm pulling the trellis out because clematis has a very strong tendency to be brittle and break, and then those stems can then become not viable to produce flowers and die off. Okay, that's it, you guys. Doesn't it look lovely? So much better than it did before. It looks clean. It looks like a piece of art. And then I'm just going to come up close so you can see I gently wound these into the trellis. Again, being careful not to break them because they are brittle. I did accidentally crack one branch, but I think all in all that is pretty good. You can see one of the buds starting to open here already. This one has a very large bud on the end. So new trellis is a really nice way to kind of brighten up the garden, make it look new again. So I'm going to plan to plant the Dr. Rupel type clematis in here, and that is the one that actually does have the green growth growing right now because it looks very vigorous to me. So let's give that a shot. This trellis has a really nice kind of pokey thing. What would you call it? Like a stake that you can put in. So I'm going to fill this pot about halfway full, and then I'll put this down in there, and that will help to stabilize it so that there's plenty of room for the clematis to grow up the top. If you're wondering what kind of soil I'm using, this is called Master Garden Premium Potting Mix. I have not used this before, but I was at Menards and needed some potting soil. And this one seemed to be a decent deal and looked like fairly good quality. So we're gonna give it a shot. Hopefully they will love it. I think that's just about the right height. So I'm just gonna fill it up the rest of the way and hopefully not knock this over. See if we can manage that. I should have said, let's see if we can not knock it over and not make a mess, but I don't know, you're not really a gardener if you don't like making messes, right? It does look pretty good. Now I'm just gonna gently pull these out. And once I get them in, I will just pot them back in here at the level they're planted in this pot. And hopefully I take out all the right ones and none of the Mrs. N. Thompson, because I want those to continue to grow on in the pot. And there should be 4 of these, so I'm going to try to evenly space them in the pot. That way it'll be nice and have decent coverage on every part. Okay, let me show you what they look like right now. And I'm just going to put a little bit more soil over the top of these so that it's topped off, and again, they have enough protection for their roots if it's a little bit cool out. Then when I'm done, I will just water this in. Figured when I opened this bag that I would probably end up using the whole bag of soil. And I'm actually putting just a little bit more on than I think is needed, because when I water, the soil will compact a bit in this pot. I want to make sure it's at the right height after I water it. And it's always good to leave a nice lip at the top of your pots for watering. So I've got that. Let me go grab a little bit of water and we will water these in. This soil, this potting mix is definitely pretty dry, so I'm going to give it a little bit here to soak in through the top. This is going to be so pretty. Hopefully they'll bloom this year. I definitely am impressed by the vigor of these plugs so far. So if they keep growing like they are, I do think they will bloom this year, but it will just be later than normal, because usually the first year that something is planted, it tends to bloom a little later than it otherwise would, because it's really trying to get its roots established. A lot of times people will have things that are in flower at the nursery at the time you pick them up, which may also mean that they're blooming sooner than they normally would, and then the next year they will bloom at the normal time again. So just be aware of that. If you buy things or you plant things early, they may bloom a little later, and if you plant them late and they're already flowering, or excuse me, you plant them early and they're already flowering at the nursery, they may bloom later the next year. A lot of the nurseries start by forcing plants into flower. All right, I think that's going to be enough water for this particular plant. So right now this is in full sun. I do have a bush to my left that is on the south side of this plant that will create more of a partial sun, and also with this fence here it will help to shade the roots of the clematis so that they won't get too hot, because again they like their roots cool and they like the flowers in the sun. I will eventually probably have to rotate this pot throughout the season just to make sure that I get a uniform growth. So maybe once a week or something like that, I can just simply turn the pot, you know, a quarter turn, and that will ensure that everything grows evenly and looks really nice. So hopefully we'll have some updates throughout the summer to see how this looks. I do wish it was a little bit warmer out and we weren't getting freezes still, so that I could plant some other flowers within here, but that'll come soon. Maybe we'll do some of the tuberous begonias that I've got growing inside still, but so many different choices. All right, well, thanks for joining me. Oh my God, I can't talk. And I'll come out from behind here. Hold on. All right. Thanks again for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it with you. Again, I apologize for the battery dying in the middle of the video. Sometimes things just happen. But thanks for hanging in there with me. I hope you enjoyed. Give me a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe to my channel and even hit that notification bell so you can get notified as soon as a new video comes on. All right, well, until next time, bye.